Hello. Okay, guys, I want to take you through MyFitnessPal cheat sheet almost of things that you can do with MyFitnessPal that you might not know about. I was going to do a screen record on my laptop. I was going to do a screen record on my phone. I feel like the easiest way to do it is that I'm just going to flip this camera around and you can watch me use my phone, because that's the easiest way for me to explain it in time and for you to understand it, because you're going to be using the app on your phone. You're not going to be using the desktop version. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to flip this round and walk you through some tips for MyFitnessPal. Recording that I add into the video. So basically, if you go into MyFitnessPal, this is what you'll see on your home screen, okay? If you go to the bottom corner here, that's where you see diary. That's where you're going to track your food. More is where you've got some settings. We'll just go quickly through some of those that you might not be aware of. If you want to change your calories in MyFitnessPal based on what you've been told you should be having, you go to goals, and then you go to calories, carbs, protein, and fat goals. Here you would change your calories. Let's just say my calories are supposed to be 2000. Okay, that's going to change here, the carbs, fats, and proteins. The only one you really need to worry about here is getting protein as close as possible to what your target is. So if I told you your target is, for example, 120 grams, you just scroll through this until it shows you as close to 120 grams here. So for example, that's at 100 grams now. I'm going to go one further. Okay, it's at 125. That's as close as I can get it. So that's what I'm going to keep it at. And then you just have to make sure that this totals to 100. So you're going to have to, you could have this one on 35 and this one on 40. It doesn't matter. Generally with fat, just in general, I would never put it below 20. So for example, you could put that one up to 55 and this one on 20. It doesn't matter, because we're not paying much attention to those unless I say specifically to you. Protein is the only one really. So that's going to edit that, and then you go back out, and that should be in your food diary. You should see it at the top here. Now calories is 2000. And also what you want to do is, if you go back to more down the bottom and you go to settings, and you go to diary settings, you can edit here what it shows you. So like, for example, if it always shows water, you can turn that off. There's certain things that it will ask you to upgrade the membership to. You do not need to upgrade the membership on MyFitnessPal at all. So in here you can customize the name to breakfast, lunch, dinner. You can just put it to meal 1, meal 2, meal 3, whatever way you want. Your exercises, you can turn those off, so you can save exercises, but you can also, if we go to sharing and privacy, diary sharing, this is where you would put your diary on public if I need to see your diary, or if it's not showing up on the app when you sync it. This is where you go into here, would be sharing and privacy settings. But if you go to steps here, you can see that don't track steps will turn off any of the steps and syncing across that it will do, and then it will add calories as well. So you can either sync your step tracker to MyFitnessPal, but I suggest you don't, because we want to keep MyFitnessPal completely separate, because your calories are set based on taking into account your activities and all the rest. So there's nothing else you really need to worry about here. It's just going into the actual diary. So you'll see your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you go to breakfast and we just add, let's just say you make the same. This is going to be first thing I'm going to show you, is how to add a recipe. Let's just say you always have the same overnight oats as your breakfast. You can put that in as a recipe or a meal and save it, so that you can just go search that meal or search that recipe. Okay, a recipe would be more if it has more servings than one. So it would be, you know that it makes 4 portions, so that's, you put it in as a recipe and you put in 1 serving. So if we go here to add food, you can go to my meals and you can create a meal. So if you go to create a meal, this can be, my overnight oats. Whatever you want to put it as. You can keep that public, you can do it whatever way you want. No one is going searching MyFitnessPal, by the way, so don't worry about public or private or any of the rest. So here, you add items to this meal. So this is where you would just simply search. So you would say, for example, I know that the oats that I use are Flahaven's oats, and I use, let's say, 45 grams, okay? I also put in low fat milk and the brand of milk that you use as well. Everyone's is going to be different. And let's just say I put in 120 mils. Then I'm going to go to the brand of Greek yogurt that I use, and I'm going to say Nada 0% fat Greek yogurt, search. The more detail that you can put in here to the search bar, the more accurate result that you will get. But you can also search the barcode as well. One thing to be aware of, this serving size here says 160 grams. So that's telling me that's for the full portion of the small yogurt. So individual portion. If you're using it out of the tub, let's say, you can just put it to grams. And you know that you weigh out 50 grams, let's just say as an example. So I'm going to put that in there. Then I'm going to add, I always add chia seeds to my overnight oats. So I'm going to put in chia seeds and I measure them through tablespoons, teaspoons and so on. So I'm going to search here, serving size as a tablespoon and 1. Okay. And then I'm going to add, what else do I add? Well, I always add my protein. And that's the recent one that I have there. Your recent things will pop up, but if not, you search as accurate as possible or you barcode it. So what I mean by that is you use the barcode scan here onto the barcode of the packaging and it might come up, some of them might not, and that's where you put as much detail in here as you can. And you can always do a quick Google search of something that is like a popular product to make sure that you know, oh, okay, that makes sense. That's roughly the same calories that it's telling me. But let's just say I put in my protein. This is the one that I use. I put in 1 scoop. That's what it gives me. And then that's kind of the base of my overnight oats. But I know that I always add, let's just say frozen raspberries. And I always put it in, you can either use it in cup forms or you can put it in grams. So if I was using it in grams, because I use the little digital scales, and I always add, let's just say I always add 80 grams. And then I always add on top of that seeds. So I might add pumpkin seeds to give me some extra fiber and protein. And I use a tablespoon measure, or if you use grams and you're using the scales, whichever one, I'm using 1 tablespoon. I'm going to put that in there. Guys, 3 grams of protein from plant protein as an extra little boost is quite a lot whenever you are having something like overnight oats. So all these little things count, and things like pumpkin seeds are excellent for micronutrients, protein and fiber. So I'm going to put that in there, and let's say I added a teaspoon of honey, or I add, what I usually add would be lint, 70% and 5 grams. That's about half of a square of chocolate. So that's what I already know that I have, and I put that inside. And then let's say we go back. So now you can see that it's showing me for that meal that I called my overnight oats, it's 530 calories. It is 40 grams of protein, and we can see the nutrition facts here. So you can see that it is 10 grams of fiber, which is excellent because your total day you want to have between 20 to 30 grams ideally. So that's a third of my day in my breakfast already. It's going to keep me full. 40 grams of protein, we know how important that is. It's going to save, like starting your day with 30 to 40 grams of protein helps so much to make the rest of the day easier to hit your protein. Okay, so I'm going to click save. And then that's just saved in there. What I can do then is, so it didn't add it, I just added it as a meal. So what I will do is add food. I will go up here to my meals, if you see at the top. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, my meals, my overnight oats, and then I can add. Okay, if we go back out, we can see that it automatically added that in one by one. When you are adding your food, so let's just say you either added them individually like this or you saved it as a meal, whichever way. If you scroll down to the bottom and you click on nutrition, it might come to calories first here. So it might show you here first, but we want to go into nutrients. We're going to go to nutrients, and that's going to show you then the breakdown for your day. I don't know if you can see this. Is that focusing or no? Anyway, it'll show you your nutrients here once you click on nutrients at the top, and that will give you an idea of what the protein is, your carbohydrates, your fat. All you're looking at here is the total, okay? You might have your goal listed and what's left, but really you should know what total amount of protein you're aiming for, and then that'll give you the total so far for that day. So that's telling me that so far I have 40 grams of protein for that day, and then I can go back out to my day and see that I still have 1470 calories left, and I still have obviously the rest of my meals. So that's how you would add a full meal. You can save it as a meal, and that means you can quickly add it the next day. Another way that you could just like copy and paste is if you go here and you go to edit at the top of the screen, you can either select all, that would be everything on your food diary that day, or you can go to breakfast and you can click breakfast and you can copy breakfast and remove anything, keep whatever you want to keep. For example, if you change the toppings usually, but you always keep the base the same, you can just copy and paste the base, and then you can click copy at the bottom left, and then you can copy it to tomorrow, same meal, and do it that way, and click tick. You can also save meal. So same way that we added a meal, you can just put it in as normal in the food diary and then edit it and save it as a meal. Save it as a meal, give it a name, there you go, same idea. So that's just an easy way for people who are quite routine with what they eat. They have similar meals throughout the week. It's really, really efficient way to do it. You will get then used to portion sizes, so you won't have to be as strict with measuring. But at the beginning, I honestly say that you measure as best as possible, as accurate as possible, like for the first couple of weeks that you are tracking if you're new to it. So that's one thing. If we go here and we're adding in breakfast and we're just like, oh, I wonder, like, do I need more protein? If you're kind of just winging it with your meals, what I would say is you can swipe down here if you've got an iPhone to make sure that the lock screen is off so that you can like rotate your screen. If you rotate your screen, you will see that it will give you a breakdown of, for that meal, breakfast, your calories, your carbs, your fat, your protein, your fiber, all the way down for each individual item. Okay, it would also have lunch here and dinner as well. So it'll give you the totals for breakfast, but it will also give you the breakdown of each individual item. So that's a really handy way when you are putting in, let's say you're just tracking a full day and you're trying to think, okay, so I have 40 grams of protein there. So lunch and dinner would need to be about at least 30 grams each. So let me go now and add in my lunch and my dinner. And that's where you might be like, okay, well, I know I have this in the fridge. I know I have this in the cupboard. And then you can start adding in that way and consistently checking like this to see, okay, my total now so far for my protein is whatever, like how many calories I've left. So you kind of can keep going between the two like that. So that's just another tip for rotating during it, is to tap it that way or rotate your screen that way and have a little look. Another one I want to show you on this is to add a recipe. If we go to dinner, okay, and we go same thing, we're going to say my recipes here. Beside my meals, you've got my recipes. You're going to click on that, and then you'll see I have some ones here that I've saved before. I'm going to click on create a recipe, and I'm going to add it. So let's just say we go a really basic one. I'm going to do my chicken curry. Okay, and I know that it serves 4 people, and I'm not going to bulk import ingredients because I'm going to add them individually. And here I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to search for every ingredient that I use. This is really handy, for example, if you make a pot of soup or something like that and you think, okay, I'm going to divide that out as soon as I make it. So I'm going to make roughly 6 portions out of it. And then that's how you can have an idea here of how the breakdown of that food, that meal is in terms of calories and nutrients. So let's just say the chicken curry. I know that I put 1 pack of chicken in. So I'm going to search chicken breast, raw, no skin. Again, we're going as accurate as possible here. Chicken breast raw with skin, no skin. We're going with that one, okay? And I know that the pack of chicken that I use is 500 grams, okay? So that says 100 grams serving size, but I want 5 of those. Or I can go in here and I can click 1 gram and then put this to 500. It just needs to total 500, okay? So that's giving me the total nutrition for the 500 grams. We know this is going to divide by 4 because I said it serves 4. Then I'm going to go in and add ingredients, and I'm going to add the oil that I use. So let's just say I use olive oil. Okay, so I know that I'm going to go in olive oil here at the top, and I use a tablespoon, and I measure out using a tablespoon measure from the kitchen. Or I can measure it through the scales and I can put grams and I can be like, okay, I know that I use 10 grams, let's just say. whatever way you want to do it, okay? So I'm just gonna go, the easy measures I use for oils is tablespoon. And I'm gonna put 1 in, that's for the full meal, for 4 people. Then I'm gonna add, what else do I use? And I'm gonna put in, okay, well I use an onion, so I could say, if I'm being really accurate, I can measure the onion once it's like peeled and it's just the onion weighed. So I can say, let's say a brown onion, and I know that I use 150 grams of brown onion. That says 100, so I'm going to say 1.5 so that it adds up to 150. I'm going to add that. What else am I going to add? I might use, let's say, frozen bell peppers. And you can either use the barcode or you can just go mixed frozen bell peppers, and I know that I use, let's just say, put it to 1, and I know that I put in 200 grams to the total thing. 200 grams, click. Next thing, I always add frozen peas, and I'm gonna go here, frozen, and I'm gonna go to grams, and same thing, I'm gonna say I add 200 grams of frozen peas. And then next, I'm gonna add, okay, curry paste. So I'm gonna say I add Thai red curry paste. And if you know the brand, or again, you can barcode it. So let's say I go with this one, and I use grams rather than tablespoons, because I'm gonna use a scale for that. So I'm gonna put it to 1, and I measure out. Let's just say I use 60 grams, okay? And then I also add coconut milk, light. And I'm gonna add the one that I generally use. Let's just say I know which one I use is Dunn's. And I know that 100 mils is like a quarter of the tin, but I'm using the full tin. So I can put in either 1 container, 400 mils here, or I can just put this to 4. So I can do 100 mils and I'm using 4, okay? So that's added. So I know now I have in the meat, I have in the veg, I have in the oil that I cook it in, I have in the curry paste that I use, I have in the coconut milk that I use. If I use corn flour or cornstarch to thicken it, I would add it here. If I use rice, I'm going to serve with it, then I'm just going to put the basmati rice in, but I'm going to put it in cooked here because I know that I always cook the rice and then measure it after. So when I'm searching for it, I will search specifically basmati rice cooked. And I know that I always serve 1 cup per serving. So I'm going to put in 4 cups here. You could also leave this out and add the rice separately as you go and just save the curry as the meal or the recipe itself. Okay, so this gives me the full thing. So here you can see at the bottom it says 551 calories per serving, and it says 4 servings. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, okay, let's click in here. Okay, so you can see the breakdown here. So it says my chicken curry, 4 servings, 551 calories, 16 grams of fat, 57 grams of carbs, and 37 grams of protein. If I go more nutrition facts, it will show me that the fiber is 4 grams. Really, I would like that to be up over 5. What I could do there is increase the portion of veg that's in it. So I could increase the peas, I could increase the peppers, I could add some nuts to it if I wanted. It depends on what your calories are and all the rest. So I could save and log that from the bottom here if I'm having it that same day, or I could just save it. I'm just going to save it, and then I know that if I want to go in and add it to my dinner, I can go here, add food, go to my recipes and see my chicken curry and add that. That will then come in and it'll just show as my chicken curry because I know that the recipe is saved. And if I search nutrition, I can see that so far, just with my breakfast and my dinner, I'm on 77 grams of protein and 14 grams of fiber. So we're looking good so far. I still have lunch to go and I still have snacks, and I have 900 calories left. So I am good. So I would just prioritize my protein in my lunch there and then allow for any snacks that I enjoy or any snacks that I need if I'm on the go. And that's how I would kind of plan out my day with MyFitnessPal. The main things are you want to search as accurate as possible, and you want to check through the bottom corner here, nutrition, check here, and consistently check how your totals are looking. You can also go into calories here and just check today your total calories so far, but you can also do a weekly view, and that will total your calories for the full week so that you can see, okay, my average calories, instead of going, so I'm not tracking at the minute, but if I was tracking, you could see that, okay, my net average calories are whatever. Okay, and it will tell you your average calories so that you don't have to go back and check. However, if you go in and it shows exercise here, that's going to add to your calories. So it's going to tweak things and it's not going to be the way you want it. So I always tell people, if it shows your exercise calories here, just go to the bottom where it says exercise and just delete them. So just swipe across and it will delete whatever calories it's put in for exercise. Don't have exercise calories up here because it's going to throw off your averages. Okay, so that's the way I would do it for ease when you want to go back on a Sunday evening and go in and check your nutrition, go to your calories, last 7 days, check, okay, perfect. So I know now for my check-in form on a Monday, that's my average calories for the last week. Go back to nutrition, nutrients, put that back to day view, and this is where you're at. Okay, so that is the way I would track things, as simple as possible. If you are eating out and you are eating in a restaurant or you're eating takeaway, the best thing you can do is try to find a similar style of food that would have the calories online. So you can either do a quick Google search and search that way, or you can do a quick search in MyFitnessPal. The way I would do it is, if I was eating out, what I would do is try and find like a restaurant that might have the, you know, their nutrition online. There'd be good, generic ones in the UK are generally good. Like for example, things that have like their steaks online, or doing a quick Google search of what, you know, an 8-ounce sirloin steak cooked would be, or things like that, so that you can just compare, because you don't want to be going in and going in and searching steak and then just be like, okay, that looks about right, I'm going to add that. That is completely going to skew your results, because you have no idea, did you have a 6-ounce grilled steak? Was there butter in it? What type of steak was that? You want to be really accurate. So the best way to do it is to try and find a rough idea of the specific steak that you had, search for it on Google, then come back in and you'll know what you're looking for. Or if you know that, let's just say the menu said 8-ounce sirloin steak cooked. Okay, this is actually a good one to come up, is Wetherspoons and Harvesters are like UK brands that would have their nutrition online. So it is a good idea that to have a look through theirs. So for example, you can see here, 8-ounce sirloin steak, 1 portion cooked, 599 calories. 8-ounce sirloin steak, 1 serving, 1200 calories. Then that's straight away you want to be like, okay, which makes sense here? Do I go for the low calorie one just because that's one I want to go with? Or do you go with the one that is more realistic? So you want to be like, okay, let's see here what the other ones are saying. So you've got 456 calories here, you've got 599 calories here, you've got 877 calories here, but it says 1 meal. So I would go somewhere around here, and I would probably play cautious and go with the 599. This seems over the top, so it feels like it might be the full meal. So what I would say is I would add that one. I would do a quick Google search to see roughly what is an 8-ounce sirloin steak calories, and that's the way you kind of have a rough idea as best as possible. Then you would add things individually. So you would add in your side orders individually. You overestimate things, you always add extra oil. If you're eating out, put in an extra tablespoon of oil so that you can cover yourself. Everything that you eat out is going to be more calories than you think. Basically, if you're eating out, you can assume that a main course is going to be about 1,000 calories, unless you are very, very careful. Same with takeaways. If you're having a takeaway at home, it is very likely that it's going to be very high in calories, unless you are really, really particular about what you order and where you order from. Anything that is fast food, anything that is deep fried, like chipper related, is going to be super high in calories. Again, like I'm saying, about 1,000 calories easily. Anything that is like curry, Indian, Thai, things like that, again, very easy to get upwards of 900,000 calories. Things that are a bit less would probably be things like Nando's, and things that you can order individual, things that you can tell if they are grilled, how they're cooked, and you can search for them individually. that would probably be the easiest way to have something that's within your calories. Sometimes you just don't want to worry too much. So what I would say there is that you just allow for the 1,000 calories, let's say, for that meal, and you just track it as best you can, and you move on. You've allowed for that meal, and that's fine. The thing is, I don't like when people have their calories, they're tracking for the day, they don't know what they're having, so they just kind of track, and then they go to lunch, they aren't paying attention to their protein, they're not paying attention to anything else. They've left about 500 calories for dinner, and then they end up having a takeaway. And then they haven't paid any attention to, planning in that takeaway, going for the better options, and that's when people struggle to see progress. So you cannot just be like, tracking willy-nilly and just being like, oh, I tracked it, so it's fine, and you went for the lower calorie one just because you found a random input on MyFitnessPal, and you didn't plan out your day appropriately. You should be planning your week out in advance if you know that you're going to be having a meal out or a takeaway, because that is what it can do. It can raise your whole week's calories over bring you out of a deficit and bring you up to maintenance, and therefore you will not lose weight. So it's important that you do account for it. I always tell people they can have these things in their diets, but they need to be accounted for. So hopefully that makes sense, and you can see now how I would like you to be kind of looking at MyFitnessPal now that you're a few weeks in. You can start to pay attention to, adding in your own meals. You can start to pay attention to how you can kind of switch and have a look at your nutrition by switching your phone. You can see your average calories at the end of the week and so on. I will go into a bit more detail on certain things like, eating out and takeaways and stuff, but right now, I just want you to know how you can add in your own meals and your recipes and stuff into MyFitnessPal. So hopefully that was useful, and I will speak to you soon.